in my experience, it has been much easier on my spirit and on my soul as a man to continue to engage with women as if though they are human beings and not people who are expected to fit into this role, because that is how you become a bitter man.
Welcome back to the podcast. I started this podcast as a way to help Black men in all aspects of our lives. Studies show on average we lose 2.8 years of our life when we're under heavy stress. And I think we can gain those 2.8 years back if we express ourselves healthily. Stick with me as I interview therapists, doctors, advocates, activists, and friends about how we can be better as Black men and as a Black community. If you're not subscribed to us on YouTube and following us on Instagram and TikTok, you'll definitely want to do that. Without further ado, let's get into the episode.
Yo, y'all. We're back with another episode. This is going to be a fire episode. I'm here with Odilakachi. He's a master life coach, therapist, and content creator. Bro, how you doing today?
Doing the best I can, brother. Doing the best I can. I can't complain. I cannot complain at all. How you doing, brother?
I am good, bro. I'm good. I'm excited for this episode, bro. I'm not going to lie. I don't normally, I get excited for podcast episodes, bro. But this one, after we had that conversation, I was like, okay, yeah, my bro is tapped in. So let's get straight into it, bro. So we were talking, right? And one of the things that kept on coming up was divine masculinity and femininity. And my question to you is, what do you feel like is really hindering Black men from expressing themselves?
And I'm glad that you brought back the conversation that we were having previously. I think that a lot of men, especially Black men, were not taught to value femininity outside of in a way that is presented to them for consumption, right? So we haven't been taught how to truly value femininity, not necessarily as an external, but as a compatibility or I guess you could call it a complement to masculinity.
So what is that? I guess, what does that look like for us, right? Like as men, what is femininity as a complement to masculinity look like for us?
Going to the doctor when we're supposed to. That's one of the easiest examples, brother. Or just saying that we're in pain, right? Being able to identify what is hindering us from accomplishing a goal. You dig what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. You know, and that's interesting, bro. Yeah, go ahead. Now go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, your entire platform, brother, being able to express ourselves, right? The whole reason why we are here is that we are having a conversation about the very real realities of the dynamics between men and women, especially Black men and Black women. If we are looking at this from an ecological perspective, we have to take into account the traumas that existed in order to deconstruct the spiritual aspects of Black people. Ergo, if we are looking at it from the perspective of balance and we are looking at it from the perspective of being universal or truly being equitable in what it is that we do, we as Black men do not express ourselves because we have internalized this idea that expressing ourselves is feminine and thus wrong.
And I'm glad you brought that up, bro. I'm glad you talked about the platform, bro, because that's exactly what it is. And you get it, like what ends up happening on the platform is that a lot of people don't know what it looks like for a Black man to freely and openly express himself. And so when they see that, like people are either taken aback or they love it, right? Like I normally get that response. Either people are taken aback, like, why are you, or you're doing this wrong, or whatever the case may be, or people like, yo, man, this is great. Like, thank you so much for everything that you're doing. And so it's very interesting, man. And like one thing that I see on the page a lot too is that people don't like my tone a lot of times when it comes to like some of these, like the YouTube videos that I make, right? They don't like my tone. And when I say people, I'm talking about Black men specifically. They don't like my tone, right? Because sometimes I talk very, people will call, direct, but also people would see that my voice is being raised, right? And what I'm realizing is that what they're basically telling me to do in that moment is nurture rather than be more direct. And what they're telling me to do really is operate out of feminine. You get what I'm saying? Because what people don't like is the masculine that comes out when I'm making these YouTube videos and I'm being very direct. And so like, it's interesting to think about it from that perspective. Like we want to be nurtured. We want to be spoken to in a certain way, but we don't want to tap into that for ourselves.
We want other people to do the emotional labor for us because we perceive it to be too difficult for ourselves. While simultaneously existing in a catch-22 situation where we don't want to admit that emotional labor is too hard.
Right. And so that gets me into my next question, bro. So why do you feel like we think about emotions as feminine, bro?
Because that's what we've been taught. For example, the word hysterical, right? The root word of the word hysterical is hister. The word hister means womb. It's associated with the womb. That's the reason why when people get hysterectomies, it's the removal of the womb. Right? It is the removal of the place within your body that creates that emotional, not necessarily disconnect, but that emotional dissonance, right? That issue, right? So when we've been taught or we've been perceived or we've been enlightened to the fact that women are the more emotional beings and men are the more logical beings, and because women have been infantilized and objectified and quite literally made into property so much that now it's almost like protecting a commodity instead of listening to a human being. How that plays into us is that part of ourselves is distanced from ourselves, because when we're more emotional, we're more vulnerable. When we're more vulnerable, we're more likely to be attacked during a challenge. It's a self-defense mechanism. Because even when you said it in the conversation, we want to be nurtured. We want to be spoken to in a particular type of way. But if we're spoken to in a particular type of way, we perceive it as a challenge. We are no longer in a space to listen. We are no longer in a space to internalize. I'm finna beat your ass. Because who is you talking to like that? Right? I ain't what's the first thing that pop out our mouth? I ain't no bitch.
Right.
Don't treat me like I'm feminine. Don't treat me like I'm soft. Don't treat me like a woman.
Nah, that's facts though. That's really facts. That's really what it is.
Well,
don't treat me like a woman. I'm a man. I operate in masculine. Anything that's not masculine is feminine, and I cannot associate myself with that, because then I'll be getting stripped of my masculine title.
Unless I am consuming it, because consuming femininity is part and parcel to defining masculinity, toxic masculinity.
So explain that for me.
The same way that racism functions as a auxiliary to Black inferiority as a myth, masculinity in the way that we are taught exists as an auxiliary to the oppression of women, because we need to know that somebody is beneath us in order to feel above or in order to feel equivalent, right? That is the way that we have been taught. If you recognize in African pantheons or in African theologies, that doesn't exist. There is no helpless. There is no damsel in distress. There is somebody who needs assistance. There is somebody who is of equivalent value that needs to be recognized as equivalent value, ergo bride price, right? But it is not somebody who I need to make my property.
Right.
Dig what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely, bro. And so you mentioned something earlier where you were talking about how we've internalized the idea that women are more emotional, men are more logical. I see it on the page all the time. I always try to tell guys, I'm like, yo, bro, y'all got to stop making these generalizations and just assuming that all women are like these logical creatures that don't know how to make, not logical, are these emotional creatures that don't know how to make logical decisions, because you're setting yourself up for failure when you get into these relationships, right? And so I always see the comments, well, logic over feelings aren't real, blah, blah. So you tell me how you feel about that and why you feel that logic over feelings is wrong.
I wouldn't say logic over feelings is wrong. I would say that it has its place as it relates to the execution of communication between two people.
Okay.
For example, the way that men make women seem, it would be astonishing for women, especially Black women, to be the leading educated group in the United States and the leading group that is creating businesses in the United States, right? That would be unfathomable. You dig what I'm saying? But because you are in this space where you are utilizing logic in order to create an emotional reality, I'm doing this because I'm emotionally attached to it, but I know that there are steps of logic in between in order to make this a reality. Because once again, the capitalistic system exists to exploit people of color and poor people, but it also exists to lock them out. And one of the ways to lock them out is to utilize logic, i.e. jargon and things that people don't understand. So you have to learn how to navigate this space in a logical way in order to bring this thing to fruition, right? On the other side of that, There are a number of men who allow their relationships to dissipate because they do not know how to place emotional intelligence into a logical situation. What do I mean by that? You and your girl get into an argument. She says that she has been asking you to do this one thing for 1,000 periods, and you sitting here looking dumb and trying to figure out why it is she's upset. You're an idiot. The reason why she's upset is because she's frustrated that she has to consistently reiterate this to you, and it comes off as you not listening. That's logical. That is a series of events that coalesce into an outcome. But because you are not utilizing emotional intelligence, you do not identify it that way. You identify it solely as her tripping because you have been taught to invalidate emotional intelligence.
Man, that is a word, bro. Oh my God, bro. And you know what's so crazy too? What I had a post where someone commented like, yo, why do y'all feel like there's only like one type of logic? Like emotional intelligence is logic as well. Like it is logical for you to factor in your emotions when it comes to certain decisions, or factor in somebody else's emotions when it comes to decisions.
100%. Right?
Like
the reason why that exists truly is because it then justifies the separation of spirit and reality, or spirit and material. So it reaffirms the idea that a hard science is a more viable science than a spirit science. So it's a type of educational classism. What it is that I can't see does not exist, even though I believe in a God that is omnipotent, all-seeing, and once again, we have no physical evidence of. So that's oxymoronic. So how is it that my spiritual science is any less valid than yours? Because it exists to create a division. It exists to create invalidation, right? Therefore, when we are talking about this whole idea of how it is that I view the world, what is logic, what is real, what is not, that is called epistemology. That is the study of fact and how it is that fact comes to be, right? In the United States and in most cultures, fact comes from how it is that we perceive that the world came to be. It comes from cosmology. Ergo, if your cosmology is situated in the understanding that there is an all-knowing being, and that all-knowing being just so happens to be gendered as a him, everything else has to fall underneath that all-knowing being. That's cosmology. That is not science, and that is not fact. But the first thing that dudes say in defense is biology. No, it's not. No, it is not. That is what you have learned. That is what you have learned socially, and because it is socially accepted as fact, you internalize it as fact, even though it is extremely debatable.
And you're referring to men assuming that we are more logical than women,
biologically superior.
So break that down. Biologically superior. What does that mean to you? Because
we are stronger physically, and because most of us as men exist in the physical plane, and we understand things in the physical plane more readily, especially in a Eurocentric context, because that's what is fact. We tend to adhere to things that are more physical. Ergo, because we are physically stronger, we perceive ourselves to be more superior, even though I have watched multiple videos where men have done simulations of things that women go through in terms of pain, and quite literally, these niggas fold. Quite literally. Y'all seen that video of men simulating like not even birth, like period cramps, bro? Oh, I could do it as soon as they turn the machine on. They put the machine on the women like, bro, this not even my worst cramps.
Right. This is like a level 5.
This like a day I gotta go to work and be inconvenienced. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, yo, like, but once again, you're biologically superior. How?
Man, that is so true though. You know, so interesting. I remember when I first saw like that video, I was like, yo, is this really what women go through? That's when I really realized, like, dang, women, we may have it messed up. Women are strong. Not to say that they always got to be strong, but women are definitely strong.
Those are the small things that we need to challenge on a regular basis. You said we may have it messed up. No, brother, we definitely got it fucked up. We definitely have it fucked up. When the first time I read the article that said black men are the white men of Black America, my knee-jerk reaction was to be appalled. When I read the article, I understood the logic behind the emotion. I understood the logic behind the emotion. Black men unmasked too many of us want to ensure that Black women remain beneath us so that we can feel as if though we have some type of power in a world that consistently removes it from us. Now, see me, I'm a different type bull. We definitely got it fucked up. Why am I about to sit here and try to oppress you into a position of less power when you are the person who is succeeding in this world that I could not succeed in based upon how it is that the world perceives me? In my mind, that's a plus. But because you are so mired in this idea that this woman has to be beneath you, you don't want to compliment a woman because it feels too much like being a woman.
Bruh, you know what's so interesting? It reminds me of the video that I seen this week where the guy was talking about, I don't want to be with an ambitious woman because at that point, like, what else can I offer? Have you seen that?
You know what's real funny? I love those type of videos because for me, it's like, see, you done told on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need, men want to nurture. They don't know how to express nurturing behaviors a lot. Think about it like this. The way that we have been taught to provide, right? The way that we have been taught to provide, in a very real sense, is financial nurturing. As much as women keep the house, we do too.
Okay. I can get down with that.
But because we have been taught that, once again, finances are material, finances are something that deals with the economy. These are man things. You can't feed a hungry child if you ain't got no money. And 9 times out of 10, if you're going to try to feed a hungry child with no money, you're going to go steal. And 9 times out of 10, the person that's doing that thieving, it's not going to be a woman.
So you're saying we actually do want to nurture. We just don't know how to nurture.
We don't want to call it nurturing.
Right.
We want to nurture, but we don't want to call it nurturing. We want to call it providing. We want to be the protector and the provider. That's nurturing in the physical sense. Stop playing yourself. Stop playing yourself. You want to protect and provide. Doing what? Utilizing your physical body in order to do what? To keep your family together. For the sake of what? So your wife can nurture your children. You ain't slick. You not slick. I don't care if it's a spade, a heart, a club, or a diamond. It's still a car. And the value of the suit is what you assign to it. Similarly, in relationships, the value of what it is that you bring to the relationship is neither up nor down. It is relative to what it is that the person feels as if though they need when you bring to it. Ergo, as men, the reason why a lot of us get so sour when these women don't want to engage with us is because we base a lot of our perceptions of self-value on being accepted by women. That is the reason why we holler so much about women needing to accept men at the bare minimum, because we, in a very real way, need women in order to define our masculinity. We're not ready to accept that. Bro.
Can we pause there, bro? Because Lord, that is a bar. And you know what's so interesting, bro? Like, I always see the comments, and I feel like this has a lot to do with like Kevin Samuels and a lot of the other dudes that make this kind of content.
I have a personal vendetta to take that man off of the internet, bro.
Nah, but for real. So listen, like, people always say, well, these women gonna end up all bitter, old and alone with cats and da blah blah. And I'm just like, bro, the fact that you sitting here thinking about her ending up bitter and alone really makes me feel like you're projecting, because that's where you feel like you're gonna end up. Because why are you even worried about where all women are gonna end up? Like, I really never got that thought process. Like, I never really sat down and thought about the fact that I feel like, oh, all women gonna end up bitter and alone. But like, I constantly see that kind of rhetoric like spewed on social media. And it's most of the time I know it's coming from single men.
The most interesting part of that entire dynamic, or that entire narrative for me, is this. Those men are usually the men who do not see how it is that they factor into the equation of bitter women, and how it is that they, talking about bitter women, themselves present as bitter men. This is what I mean. This is what I mean. We're talking about direct. We're finna get real direct.
Let's do it.
A number of men are not emotionally powerful enough to reach that height or that pinnacle of themselves in order to meet a woman where she is, because it requires a particular amount of strength that he is aware that he does not have. It is a challenge that does not present in the physical form. Therefore, it is a challenge that most men are not prepared for. When women say they want a man to do this, and this, yes, they are saying that they want these men to do this, and this. But I can tell you, as a man who is emotionally aware and emotionally and able to communicate in that way, women, it's not that they will tolerate less, but they are more likely to at least hear where it is that you are coming from and come to a consensus or a compatible conclusion as to what it is to do next. And I'm not saying this happens all the time, because I've been in some crazy ass situations with some wild ass women. I'm not saying that it works all the time. What I'm saying is that in my experience, it has been much easier on my spirit and on my soul as a man to continue to engage with women as if though they are human beings and not people who are expected to fit into this role, because that is how you become a bitter man.
There's a lot of bitter men. I ain't gonna lie, man.
There's a lot of bitter brothers.
Bro, I see it on the page all the time, bro. I see it on the page all the time.
On God.
And they all, and now I was just gonna say, man, like I feel like, you know that Spider-Man meme where it's like 3 Spider-Men, they all point at each other. Get rid of one of the Spider-Men, right? And just put a man and a woman in there. I feel like that's literally what we do in our community, bro. Literally. Like we literally are just like, but you know what I'm saying? But you messed up too. Yeah, I cheated in all 3 of my last relationships. But you know what I'm saying? But I just got cheated on in this one. And it's like, bro, what? Bro, you ain't just catch that trauma? You ain't just catch that trauma and the trauma that you're referring to right now? You're not going to do nothing about that except for point fingers? You get what I'm saying? And that's what I try to do on the platform. I'm like, bro, y'all are out here pointing fingers and y'all got a whole room that needs cleaning. Like the way I see it is like when I was younger, bro, I live across the hallway from my brother. We got 2 separate rooms. If my pops came up to my room and my room was dirty and he was like, yo, you got to clean this room. And I was like, wait, but Kwame's room is dirty too. He would look at me like, bro, what are you talking? If you don't clean this room right now, if you don't focus on your room, and it's like, it's such a simple concept to grasp, but on social media, bro, everything gets like, you got a bunch of people that are just like, nah, bro, you see, and these women are crazy, bro. It's so wild, man. All these women act like this, man. And you ain't never been in therapy a day in your life. You ain't never did the self-reflection to understand why the last relationship failed. You're not working on yourself. You're not in the gym. You're not trying to fix your mental health. You're not trying to do nothing with your physical health. Nothing to better yourself as a human being or as a man. But yet you want to sit here and point fingers at women 24/7 online and then get mad when you're held accountable. How does that make sense? Tell me how that makes sense. You got to clean your room first before you point to your brother's room, bro, or your sister's room. Like everybody want to point fingers, bro. No, look in the mirror, bro. Look in the mirror.
You know what's real funny?
What's up?
Every time we bring up a different point in this conversation, it continues to reiterate the point that men want to be emotionally validated. I am a therapist. I am a coach. I work with couples and I work with individuals, right? What I see in my couples relationships the most often is that men will wait until there is a conflict in order to address conflict.
Explain it.
So, for example, a woman will say, you didn't do X, Y, and Z. And the man will perceive that as a challenge. It'll be perceived as a challenge, not a conversation about being held accountable, but a challenge. And I've had to catch myself in these situations too, right? Because what you're hearing is the tone. What you're hearing is the anger. What you're hearing is the emotion. You're not hearing the message, right? I don't feel listened to. So how you respond is, but you don't do this, X, Y, and Z. You as a man, because you are attuned to conflictual situations, you are perceiving this as a situation to air out grievances, right? Now, here's where it gets messy. Because we as men perceive women to be beneath us, what happens is that after the conversation ends, we don't apply. Because we just perceive it as they just trying to get it off their chest. They just wanted to talk. They just, you know what I'm saying? They just doing all that nagging shit. We're going to let them go off. And then, you know what I'm saying? Woo, woo. Now, 15 years later, you divorced and you trying to figure out why. You wasn't listening. Wasn't listening, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is this. When we're talking about this idea of being held accountable, I will say that there are a number of women who believe that they are holding men accountable when the reality of the situation is they are blaming that man for the trauma or reiterating the trauma that they have experienced previously.
Absolutely.
I will say, I will not remove that from men. And on the other side of that, because men have not been taught how to emotionally express themselves, we then project that onto all women. So we do the same thing. And because once again, we have not been taught how to emotionally express ourselves, what happens is that we attempt to project it as fact instead of really identifying that I am projecting my hurt onto a population of people because I want to be emotionally validated. Because that's the reason why Kevin Samuels is viral. Because he's emotionally validating a bunch of hurt ass niggas. But he's not emotionally validating them in a way that's going to help them to grow. He's emotionally validating them in a way that does not hearken to his earlier content when he was holding women accountable. Now he's just floundering in the success of consistently blaming women for the inability of men.
And you know what's interesting, bro? I get on the page a lot of the times, or even in conversation with men, I'll get, yo, she don't listen. Women don't listen. Right? And what I heard from you just now is like, nah, bro, we don't listen. We don't be listening, bro. Like, are you listening to your shorty when she is airing out her grievance? Can you tell me what is bothering her about the relationship, about you as an individual, or in her individual life? If you can't tell me that, you are not studying your shorty and your relationship enough, and you're not listening. You're not. It's just that simple, bro. Because anybody can ask me right now, I can tell you exactly what bothers my shorty, individually, in our relationship, and with me. Because I sit and I listen. You get what I'm saying? I listen for those things, bro. And I take mental notes. I'm like, oh, okay, she don't like this. All right, cool. All right, next time I'll make sure. Oh, she want me to do this. All right, cool. Next week I'm gonna make sure I get on that. Right. And whether that be setting reminders, taking actual digital notes, whatever the case may be, you gotta study your girl, bro. You gotta study your girl. Dudes will spend all the time in the world figuring out how to get on these sports betting platforms and then talk about, I don't know why my shorty acting like that. Bro, you just spent 2 days getting on FanDuel. You can't spend an hour and some change just sitting down with your shorty and just listening, bro. You can't prioritize that?
I'm finna do you one better. You figured out how to get all this podcast equipment and set up this podcast, but you can't figure out how to talk to women.
Oh, my.
Figure out how to get these women onto these podcasts to lambast and slander them, but you can't figure out how to listen to women, brother. You're not being attuned properly. You are attuning yourself to the egotistical version of masculinity that serves your particular ego. You're not. See, here's the thing, brother. Here's the thing. When I do relationship coaching, relationship therapy, what have you, one of the things that I get is from the men, this feels one-sided, or I feel as if though this, that, and the third. I'm just like, brother, it's not that it's one-sided, or it's not that you're doing this intentionally. This is what you've learned. This is what you've learned. And it just so happens that we are on the short end of that stick, brother. So we got to pick up some of this slack. We quite literally have to pick up some of this slack. And when you are attempting to deconstruct large social structures in microcosmic ways, it can get very detailed. Because what will happen is, once again, men want to be emotionally validated as well, right? But because, like you said, are you listening to your shorty? The first thing that popped in my head is, I don't even sometimes feel like it's about listening. I think it's about comprehension and communication. Are you communicating with her in such a way where she's able to internalize what it is that you're saying?
That's true.
Because it's like, yo, so for example, there are a number of men who I do coaching or therapy with. And one of their issues is that I really don't know how to express my emotions. They learn alexithymia, like quite literally, because they have learned how to not deal with their emotions. They're 27, 30, 42, and they don't know how to, much less describe what it is that they're feeling in complete sentences. They can't say, I feel this.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm feeling. I just know that I'm feeling something. And the fact that I'm not robotic or stoic in my emotional variance makes me upset, which is the reason why a number of women feel as if though men cannot express themselves any other way than angry, hungry, horny, or sleepy. Bro. But a number of men would like to learn how to express themselves outside of angry, but because they don't even know how to say, I need help. Brother, the suicide rate for Black men is skyrocketing. It is skyrocketing. We are in a very real energetic shift where we have access to so many things that can be overwhelming to not only our central nervous system, but the way that our brain functions as a whole. Brother, they did an experiment with statuses on Facebook and how it is that the algorithm works. I think it was either a study, something done where it's like, if you consistently put in statuses onto your Facebook, it'll create a loop of the emotion that you are feeling at the point in time, and it will create an entire echo chamber around that emotion, and it influences your emotion. You spend 10 hours, the average American spends 10 hours a day on their phone. If out of those 10 hours, you're spending 3 hours on Instagram, and out of those 3 hours, 2.5 of those hours are content that's just lambasting Black women.
Talk about it.
You have a part of you that really is hurt by a Black woman. Of course, you're going to resonate with that content.
Of course. I tell dudes all the time, bro. I'm like, yo, y'all got to work on y'all social media feeds. I've actually put a post out where I legit said, here are a bunch of pages that you can follow for a bunch of different niches. So it was like business, it was like marketing, it was mental health, it was fitness. It was a bunch of different pages for a bunch of different categories, finances, all that. Because I realized, bro, like a couple things happened when I was younger. When I was in like 2018, I decided to finally get off social media for a month, right? I was on Facebook heavy at the time. I used to see like killings on Facebook, like people getting beat up on Facebook, fights, all that stuff. I was just like, bro, this is crazy. Why am I watching this, bro? Like, this is wild. Let me just get off of Facebook for a month. Got off Facebook for a month. And I was like, after that month, I was like, bro, I don't even want to get back on here. And I got back on for a little bit and I post my status here and there. And then that's when I realized, like, bro, we need to all be detoxing from social media here and there. That's one thing. We need to take our detoxes. I think of it as like a 9 to 5, bro. You would not work a 9 to 5 Monday through Sunday, like 4 years in a row without at least some kind of vacation here and there, bro. I don't care how good your job is.
Most definitely.
You get what I'm saying?
And I think,
I was just going to say, so just to wrap it up, bro. So what I realized is that when we filter our feeds and we check what we're actually consuming, it does impact us, bro. I started when I got on IG, I made a new IG and just started following a bunch of finance pages to get into stocks and investing. Followed a bunch of mental health pages to get into like the Black mental health space and all that. I followed a bunch of fitness pages to figure out how to work out. You get what I'm saying? And that has changed my life dramatically, because when you spend that amount of time on something, you have to make sure that what you're consuming is conducive to the life that you want to live. So I'm not going to tell people what to do. I'm not going to say not to follow Kevin Samuels or whoever. Follow whoever you want. Just understand where that is leading you. Critically think, where is the content that you're consuming leading you? Because people don't stop to critically think, bro. It's just a bunch of puppets just scrolling through social media and consuming and regurgitating.
I'm going to knock your head off, brother.
Go ahead, please.
Knock your head off. You said, where's your content leading you to? If you think about how social media operates algorithmically, you said at the beginning of your statement, I made a new Instagram page and I followed this page, this page, this page, this page, and this page in order to create this type of algorithmic reel or this type
Right.
of algorithmic timeline.
Right.
Right. It's not where is this content taking you to, is where is this content coming from? In other words, what within you is attracting you to this type of content to make you want to consistently engage in it? And the reason why a number of people do not do the reason why people don't do fast well, period, is because they are too attached to the comfortable version of themselves. And bringing it back home to what it is that we were talking about, that is the number one reason why a significant amount of men do not know how to express themselves. It's not that they can't figure it out. It's not that it's something that's difficult to do. It's because it is exposing them to something that they intimately do not want to be exposed to because they are too comfortable in the privilege and the power that comes with being a toxically masculine man. There are people who seek change, and there are people who revel in comfort. And me personally, the people who seek change are already coming to me. The people who revel in comfort, I have no business with them because I do not revel in comfort.
No, that's a fact, bro. That's a fact. So let me ask you, bro, why do you feel like, so we talked about this a lot, but just want to bring it home. Why do you feel like we're so scared of emotional vulnerability and femininity?
Because we see how the world treats women and we don't want to be treated that way. Do you know that social experiment, and I keep forgetting her name, but it's the white woman who does social experiments with other white people, and she does the experiments in such a way where it brings the reality so acutely to them that it causes them cognitive dissonances. Like, these white folk be falling the hell out over an experiment. You're not even black for real. I'm just treating you with some type of disrespect for 30 minutes. 30 goddamn minutes. Not even a whole day. You ain't been a nigga a whole day and you break it. You ain't got it. You ain't built like that. Right? See the way that the world treats women. They do not want to be treated like women. Therefore, they align with the powers that be of masculinity so that they can continue to remove the power from women to hold them accountable. Because being held accountable means that you have to grow. And growth, true growth, requires internal rearrangement and discomfort. And let me tell you something, Brother Kizzle, a lot of people ain't got that strength.
And I'm also going to add to that, too. You also have to relinquish some of the power, bro.
100%.
You got to relinquish some of the power, bro, because once you start operating in that, what you would call consumed femininity, where you're comfortable expressing yourself and stuff, you're going to have people that are like not comfortable with that and that are going to be opposed to what it is that you're doing, right? And so you do have to relinquish a little bit of that power. But I think it's one of the most freeing things that you can do as a man is to be comfortable in that femininity, right? Because there are studies that literally show that our expressing our feelings like subsides the effect that it has on us, right? Right, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I feel like it's important for us to get comfortable with being quote unquote vulnerable, right? Because we deal with all of this stress and we deal with all of this trauma, but if we're not releasing that, it gets pent up.
Brother,
yeah, go ahead.
You can finish your statement, but I want to touch on something real quick before we run out of time, because I think that this conversation is leading to an idea of submission, and I really want to talk about that.
Let's get to it.
I'm going to make a lot of people upset. I'm going to make a lot of people mad.
I love making the people mad. So I wanted to point out this thing that you were talking about. You were saying women outlive us from 7 to 10 years.
Yes.
And I think that is so fascinating when we actually really sit and think about it. Like, if you exclude all of the deaths that we have because of the more dangerous jobs that we work and all that kind of stuff, right? I think underneath some of that data is the fact that we don't express ourselves, bro. Like, and that literally gets pent up and takes years off of our life. Everybody knows, there's no secret. Anybody that listens to the podcast knows that I started the podcast after reading a study that says men lose 2.8 years of their life when they're under heavy stress. 2.8 years of their life, right? And then there's another study that says a good way of dealing with stress is cognitive behavioral therapy. That actually helps. Meditation is another thing that helps, right? These are both seen as, for the most part, feminine things, right? And for me, it's like, bro, are you really willing to give up 2.8 years of your life, if not more than that, because you don't want to speak about your feelings? Are you really willing to shorten your lifespan because you don't want to speak about your feelings? And then I was like, oh, hell no. I'm not. Look, I need those 2.8 years. I need it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't know what I got to do, but I'm going to talk. I'm going to talk about my feelings. I'm going to go into therapy. I'm going to talk about what I'm feeling, because I'm not about to lose 2.8 years of my life just because I want to keep my emotions pent up. Like, nah, F y'all, bro. Y'all not about to kill me. You're not about to kill me quicker. That's how I feel, bro. So when I get on the page and I talk about all this stuff and I express all these things, people are like, oh my God, thank you so much. Wow, you're so brave for expressing. I'm like, I ain't doing this for you. Like, I'm doing this for me, bro. I'm trying to live. I'm trying to live, bro. Like, for real. But now let's get into it, bro. What are you gonna say though?
Yeah. And I think that's an interesting, what's the word I'm looking for? I think that's an interesting segue, right? Into this whole idea of dominance and submission. So there's a large conversation talking about women not being submissive enough, or women not being this, women not being that. Now, I've studied BDSM, I've practiced BDSM, right? And these terms are utilized heavily in that community.
So first of all, explain BDSM to someone that doesn't know what BDSM is.
So bondage, domination, sadomasochism, slave master, like the numbers. The letters are pretty much interchangeable as long as it's BDSM, but bondage, dominance, submission, you know what I'm saying? Masculine, like it's interchangeable, right? But mostly it's bondage, dominance, submission, and masochist or slave master, what have you, right? And you know, please don't quote me on that, but that's what it is that I remember from what it is that I've been studying, or how it is that I study currently, right? So when we are talking about this idea of dominance and submission, even just in a non, well, BDSM itself is not sexualized, even though people sexualize it, it's not overly sexual, it's not overtly sexual, right? But it is something that is utilized in order to analyze sexual dynamics. So when we're talking about dominance and submission, it's a relationship dynamic. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Just like a sexual relationship can be both an individual and a relationship dynamic. A number of men do not understand, and I'm gonna give away some keys. The quickest way to get a woman to submit to you is to submit to her first.
Explain that though. Explain that, because there's gonna be a lot of men, right? There's gonna be a lot of men that are like, "Are you saying I just need to treat her right, and that she's gonna automatically submit?" Right? So please break it down, because I don't want it to get confused, bro.
No. Motherfuckers is not paying attention, right? So the second definition of the word submit is to present or to give, and it's something for evaluation, right? So that type of definition implies that all parties are equivalent. When I say submit to a woman, I quite literally mean learn about this woman, understand this woman, listen to this woman, identify what this woman likes, identify what this woman dislikes, even if it's just a sexual relationship. In terms of consensual sexual relationships, women go unsatisfied because men do not care to listen or to learn or to submit. The reason why so many men have an issue with giving women head is because it puts them in a not even an emotional position to be vulnerable, just a physical one. Just a physical one, right? I'm doing something that's like woo, brother. You're engaging in an act of submission, and patience. Because with most women, it takes them 20 minutes to even just get to the point where they're trying to get to. With men, you have to be patient. You have to submit to learning. You have to submit to understanding. You have to submit to communication. Brother, There's a whole playbook that goes into this understanding of the dynamics between men and women, but most men don't want to read it because it's written mostly by women.
Why would I listen to a woman?
Exactly. Why would I listen to a woman about women? That makes absolutely no sense to me, right? Right? The gateway, the route to pussy land is paved with the words, the intentions, and the emotions of the women who you are attempting to meet there. And it would pay you to pay attention because they are the ones that built that entire city. It will behoove you to respect the residents of that metropolis. But when I say submit, I quite literally mean and understand that the woman who you are attempting to lay with has a power that you do not have. You need to respect it. You need to treat her as your equivalent, as your equal. Wash your motherfucking hands. Wash your goddamn hands, bro. Wash your hands. Would you go into a sanctuary of God with dirty shoes on, bro? Or would you at the very least wipe your feet at the church door? Wash your motherfucking hands. And I mean that both in a literal way and in a metaphorical way. Wash your motherfucking hands.
Bro. Dudes would literally eat a bag of chips, lick their fingers, and then you feel me? You feel me?
And just get busy. You dig what I'm saying? And I'm not saying this like I'm perfect, brother. I fall short consistently.
Of course.
But at the same time, and of the same token, we're gonna keep it $1.50, right? Most men in the United States, most Black men utilize either Christianity or a bastardized version of Christianity in order to justify what it is that they do to women. Here's the real. Here's the 100% real. If you want to keep it $1.50, in the Bible, the same way it says to submit to your husband, it also says that husband is supposed to submit to God and the church. The church is not comprised solely of men. The kingdom of God is not comprised solely of men. The idea of God and the spirit of God is not comprised solely of men. So how can you say that you are treating your neighbor with the utmost respect and the love of God, and your neighbor is not only the person that is the next door to you, but the person who is laying in the bed next to you? You are not treating your neighbor with the love of God, because that woman is a woman, and you need to check yourself. Because if you want this woman to submit to you and you are truly submitting to God, if you truly believe that you are a reflection of God as a Christian, that means that you need to submit to the understanding and the idea that you recognize that as a man you fall short and you need to get it together.
And here's the thing about submission, right? Like, I think a lot of us have this skewed perspective on what submission actually is, right? And like, people gonna define it however they want to define it. I've realized through the last year or so of running the platform that one, submission goes both ways, like you've been expressing. But two, submission does not start with dictation. Submission starts with listening. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna back up one more time, bro. Submission starts with critical thinking. Before you turn in an assignment, do you just start writing?
Oh, absolutely not.
You start thinking about what it is you're going to write. You think about how it is you're going to construct it. You think about the presentation of whatever it is that you are studying. Submission begins with critical thought.
And this is the thing, right? Like, we've been taught that get in a relationship, you dictate. Get in a relationship, dictate. So we got a bunch of men getting in relationships and, oh, my show, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do that. And it's like, bro, does she even want to wash the dishes? Does she even want to cook? You get what I'm saying? Like, did you even ask these questions, or did you just assume that this is the role that she has to play because she's a woman? Let's get to it. Right. And this is the problem that we have, right? Like, we automatically make all of these assumptions based off of what we see in society and what we've been taught about genders and roles and relationships. And it's like, bro, relationships are very different, especially now in 2022. There's a lot of women that don't know how to cook. There's a lot of women that don't like washing the dishes. There's a lot of women that don't want to take out the trash. Women normally don't take out the trash, but there's a lot of women that don't like to take out the trash, right? There's a lot of women that don't like to do the things that we were taught growing up is normal for a woman to be doing. So when we get into these relationships, and we're not informed, right? We're hopping into these relationships because we're so quick for that emotional validation, for that love from woman, because it validates us as a man. We jump into these relationships. We're seeing, oh, damn, she don't do this, she don't do that. Nah, she just don't listen. It's like, nah, bro, you ain't listen. You wasn't listening, or you weren't critically thinking. You weren't asking the right questions, bro. You were jumping into a relationship off of an assumption because you were too eager to get into a relationship, to figure out if you were actually getting into the right relationship with the right person for you. So now you walking around, you all mad at all these different women because you had one bad experience, and when we point back to it, probably got to blame you. And it comes all the way back to the point that I was making. Clean your own room. Clean your room.
Most niggas would rather tell a woman to choose a better man instead of taking the effort to be the better man that he is telling that woman to choose.
And that's a fact too, bro.
Most men would prefer to tell a woman to choose a better nigga than to be or put forth the effort to be the better man that he is telling her to choose. Why? It is much, 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 much easier to avoid accountability when you have so many examples of non-accountable niggas.
Bruh, this has been a excellent episode, bro. I think takeaways for sure is accountability. We have to get in tune with our emotions and our feelings, and critical thinking, not only in relationships, but just in life, right? Like, what are you consuming? What do you believe about yourself? What does your consumption say about you, right? And how are you acting on what it is that you're consuming? Because if you think that what you consume on social media doesn't have a direct effect on how you behave in the world, you are mistaken. You are very mistaken.
Extremely mistaken.
So, bro, can you please tell the people where to find you? Anything that you have that's coming up, everything, bro. Just promote away, bro.
Yeah. So, first and foremost, my name is Odilakachi William Hezekiah. I am a master life coach. I am a therapist. I am a content creator. I am a course creator. My website is www.blkwlth. That's Black Wealth without the E's and the A's.com. Once again, www.blkwlth.com. That's where you can find all of my services, all of my courses, things of that nature. What I have coming up, I already have a course offering out. It's a group course offering. It's called the Group Sessions, and essentially it serves the purpose of increasing emotional awareness and intelligence. So for people who want to go to therapy, but they don't know what they want to talk about, or they don't know what they want to express, that is what my course serves the purpose of. On top of that, I have a Facebook group associated with it, and there's a coaching platform called Quinza. That's a direct app that you can utilize as a note-taking platform and continue to speak with me on a one-to-one level so that we can really evaluate where it is that you're coming from and get you to that point where you're more comfortable expressing what it is that you want to express in that arena, right? That's my first offering. My flagship offering and my baby, like my passion project, is called Mindful Finance, right? It's the financial reconstruction course. I am an individual who knows intimately the relationship between emotions and money. Mm-hmm. I know it intimately. That's the reason why men spend so much money on cars, jewelry, and clothes. That's the reason why women spend so much money on things that they use to make themselves feel beautiful. It is the relationships between emotions and money. My course does not teach you how to make money. It is not that type of course. It is a course that teaches you how to keep money from a psychological perspective. I'm not concerned about what you're spending your money on. I'm concerned about why. And I'm concerned about how much. Let's see where this goes back to. Why do you feel as if though you can only buy 2 or 3 pairs of shoes for 5 years and you make $130,000? Why do you feel as if though you can spend $3,000 and you only have access to 2? Where are you getting this extra $1,000 and why is it going towards being spent? We are evaluating all of these things from a psychological perspective. That is the flagship course. And the flagship course is going to be built out into a boot camp, into a mastermind. I'm partnering with my business partner out here. You can follow him on Instagram. I am Omni. We have already started offering credit repair, credit paybacks, which in a very real way is you being paid for inquiries on your credit report based upon consumer law. We're doing all those studies. Is amazing things are happening, brother.
Mm-hmm. And tell the people where to find you on IG too, bro.
Oh yeah, man. Follow me on everything at my name super long. Once again, my name super long. It's all one word. It's not my name is super long. It's not super long. My name super long.
Bro, thank you so much. I really appreciate you, man. This is a dope episode. I appreciate all the insight, bro.
Most definitely. Peace, love, soul, and butter rolls, brother.
Yo, I'm excited, man. We're currently building the exclusive community and it's going to have so many dope features. We're partnering with a Black organization to offer low-cost therapy to each member of the exclusive community. And when I say low cost, I mean that members will be able to get therapy sessions for less than $50, regardless of who they are and where they are. We're also going to have free ebooks and courses, including both the Hurting the Healing ebook and the therapy ebook I'm currently writing, live podcast episodes where you'll be able to interact with the guest and I in real time, community forums, exclusive merch, and categorized content so you can easily find information that may be useful to you. So go to expressyourselfblackman.com/therapy and register for early access. It's literally a 30-second process. I just need your name, email, and social media handle to make sure you get access before anyone else. And before I dip, I just want to thank you for your support. Without people like you, none of this would be possible. I can't wait to see you when we launch.
Sometimes I know you feel like you ain't got nobody to speak to. A shoulder to lean on somebody you could preach to. No, you need to hear it, my brother, I love you. We got way too much to live for.